Hey, welcome back. Scarnat Sign. This is Rodney G. Thank you for being with me. I just had some pumpkin spice almonds. I think my wife got them from Aldi's, I think. They're good. So hopefully you don't hear me clacking. You know, like when the old people like eat the peanuts and then they have the peanuts in their hand and they start shaking them like they're about to roll dice. And then they get them in their teeth. And so you just hear them sucking the peanuts out their teeth. And hopefully that won't be going on today. But they was good. They were so good. You check them out if you can. Now, if you're doing dialysis, you got to watch the peanuts. You start getting phosphorus and you start getting itchy. Don't blame it on me. So talk to your dietitian before you start shuffling peanuts in your hand. Anyway, that's a little tip for you for today. So we're gonna get back. By this point, I'm already settled in sunny San Diego. Been there for a little bit. Started working out. And it wasn't really working out. I guess it was more of a survival working out. I had to eat. We had to eat. So I went and did the walk to get the groceries. And that's where I believe I left off with. And for a period of time, everything seemed to be going well. I didn't have like a whole lot of issues regarding dialysis. I always seem to have, sometimes it's a little higher than others, but it's been a long time since it's been really high. This is the high blood pressure. So high blood pressure, no matter what, had always seemed to be high. And it was always just in my high blood pressure medications. And even with the added exercise, me walking to go do the chores, basically, like my blood pressure had always been high, never really stable. And so that was always something difficult to manage, was the blood pressure. Also, iron. When I was doing dialysis, iron seemed to always be an issue too. And then I may have mentioned it in the early stages, but the iron, for me, they would give it to me through a syringe. It was a supplement and it was black and gooey and I could taste it. It tastes like licorice once it got like through my blood system. So I was always getting this iron. I think it was called Benefor, but I could be wrong. So don't quote me on it. So that was always something. And then that phosphorus, always had a problem getting my phosphorus correct. I know why for the phosphorus, because I was the one that I said I was shuffling peanuts. I was shuffling peanuts and eating those. And then potatoes. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to pre-soak the potatoes to get the starch out first off, but it's supposed to help get some of that phosphorus out of the potatoes as well. So you're supposed to soak them before you cook them if you're going to eat them, because you might not supposed to be eating potatoes. So that was always difficult because I'm still on dialysis. I was still able to eat cheeseburgers, but you just had to be careful with like the amount of cheese you eat too. So it was always these things. And if you wanted to treat yourself, that was up to you. There's definitely some, especially the fruits that you're not supposed to eat. And I'm not a dietitian, so I'm not going to go through the list. But I think those like my main issues that I always had was the blood pressure and then the phosphorus and then the iron, low iron. But even for a little while there, I was still a little tired and I didn't lift weights a whole lot. So, but I know I got a little weaker. So I don't know if that was a tribute to. At one point, I got tests done for my testosterone levels. Now, the funny side of it is, right, like sex drive was a little lower because all the pills and the medications that you'll take. So it can be an effect of that. It was lower, didn't have that drive. But in my head, I also was thinking like, if I could get testosterone and lift, well, I might be able to put on some muscle mass, like legally. But with everything comes like a disappointment. It feels like, because it's you can't take protein. We prefer you get your protein normal source, or hey, you can't take this because it may counteract with that. Of course, one time that I had a test, it was my testosterone levels were okay. Another time I had it test, it was getting lower. And by that time I was like, well, can I get a prescription, to start testosterone treatment? And the doctor was like, well, if I give you testosterone, that could affect that because your kidneys, and it could do this because your kidneys. And I was like, okay. So now maybe I'll go try again and see if they get a replacement for some type of testosterone treatment. And I could be the old guy on the YouTube video ripped with a transplant kidney. Overall, I was doing good. I was losing my weight. I was continuing to do my my walking. I didn't have any medical conditions at that time. So I was doing well. Just having access to be able to go get those groceries by walking. I started off, think I was 300 pounds. I probably was actually a little more than 300 pounds. And 300 pounds for me, unless you're probably doing steroids, there's not a whole lot of people that are ripped at 300 pounds. I still had carried a lot of body mass, but let's be honest, I had a belly too, but I was big and I was very mobile. So I wasn't like, I always say I wasn't like a sloppy 300 pounds, but regardless, 300 pounds is 300 pounds. By the time I was done, and I think this was probably with about 4 months of just continuing to do the same routine, I ended up losing about 40. So I was definitely within a range to get on a transplant list and to get tested. I don't even know how I got with Scripps. I can't remember. I don't know if it was through DaVita picking a facility, or if I remember correctly, it might have been Marie might have met somebody who worked at Scripps and suggested to contact the medical department about getting tested. That might have been the way that I got connected with Scripps. And there was 2 hospitals, Scripps, and I didn't know between one another. This person at the time just said, go to, there was 2 of them. There was Scripps and Kaiser. And I know I didn't want to go to Kaiser. We'll leave it at that. So, and I really didn't know much about Scripps at the time. Connected with Scripps and still doing my dialysis. So I really, basically I had 2 medical teams going on at that time. And Scripps was primarily just doing the transplant workup stuff. And I didn't get to that point at this time. And I still think we're in like 2017 at this point, and it has to be like summertime because I'm walking. Not like it ever gets really freezing cold in San Diego, but I remember the time of year. Start looking at some other options, but there's so much that happens in between losing weight and actually getting on the list. It's not just because you lose weight, all of a sudden you make it on the list. So much happens, and then you still got life to deal with as well. But 45 pounds, that was excellent. I haven't got back to 300 pounds since then. I kind of hover around, if I get motivated and work out, I could get probably back down to 245, but I'm usually around 250, 265. Felt good at 255, 245. If you're out there trying to figure it out, walk. Get one of those, put a backpack on and put some stuff in your backpack and walk. And when you get tired, take your break. Like I said, I can't necessarily give you fitness advice because I'm not a personal trainer either. I'm just giving you some ideals, and maybe you could take it back to your dialysis center and have a conversation with them. But it's doable, and it's not easy, and it sucks. And double cheeseburgers sound so much better. Chinese food sounds so good. And before I go, let me mention, I really didn't adjust my nutrition a whole lot. Once I got on dialysis, my eating changed. I went from eating I could eat 2 double Whoppers. I didn't do it on a regular, but I have been known to do that previously, to where I would eat maybe a cheeseburger, fries, and a soda, or a Whopper, fries, and a soda, or Big Mac, fries, and a soda. I love burgers. I love sandwiches, or if I go to Panda, or at that time, I get 2 entrees instead of the 3 entrees. And that was just because naturally I did not feel like eating that much. Being full with all that fluid in your peritoneum cavity was uncomfortable. And I think that kind of prepared me for just moving forward with lessening my eating. And I was no longer like an athlete in football or lifting heavy weights. Probably my input of nutrients wasn't needed as much because I wasn't burning as many calories. Just a thought. Didn't change drastically. Make sure, if you can, get your fluid. That was probably one of the most difficult, is trying to remain hydrated when you're given a fluid restriction. So that can be tricky, but it's possible. This is all the goal to get on that list, and we'll continue discussing that. I'll talk to you next week. This is Rodney G. Scarred Not Silent. And I'll leave off with, if you wake up, you have a purpose. Bye.